Welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. I'm your host, renowned sex and relationship coach Amanda Testa. And if you are looking to reclaim your sexual desire, take sex from a to-do to something you look forward to, and enjoy deeply connected relationships without adding more to your already full plate, then you are in the right place. Listen in to discover how to fan the flames of your feminine fire, fall in love with your sensual self again, and experience intimacy like never before, all in a way that feels really good to your system. Make yourself comfortable and enjoy the episode. Hello, and welcome to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. If you are ready to age with Eros, to really realize that all these stories that we have been told by our culture about aging are myths, and to step into not just talking your way to feeling better, but really feeling it in your body and bones. I am thrilled to be with one of my dear friends and amazing coaches. Her name is Linda Prystawska, and she is such a light in this field. We actually met through Beta Coaching, and I'm so grateful that you are here today. So I'd love to have it, maybe if you don't mind, just share a little bit about kind of what led you into this line of work.
Well, my goodness. First of all, thank you for that beautiful introduction, Amanda. It is delicious to be here with you. Yes. little seat wiggle. To be very honest, I don't know how I ended up here. It was one of those things where this is a complete 180 for me. I was in theater before. I was an actor for decades. And then the pandemic hit and the theater door shut. And I was sitting in my room, in my home, and it was like the goddess took my hand and said, hey, there's this really interesting podcast you should listen to. And hey, maybe you should jump onto this call with this woman called Layla Maroon. And I just remember Layla was in one of her big transmissions and she was selling her coaching certification program. And she said, if this is a fuck yes, I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in your show. If this is a fuck yes in your body, just feel that and say fuck yes. And there I was lying on my bed a few months into the pandemic going, fuck yes. And so I decided that I was in my late 50s at this point. I decided that I was not going to be one of those women that knew the rooms of their home better than they knew the rooms of their body. This coaching certification, I had never intended to be a coach. I had only really intended to join it to really get to know myself better, to really explore my erotic potential, to explore my body, to see my own capacity for pleasure. And it just seemed like such a good time when the world had just basically come to a stop. I thought, well, what better time to really get to know myself? And so that is how I ended up here. And then, you were one of my beautiful teachers in that program. And as I explored myself, and as I then explored the act of coaching and being of service and using these beautiful tools that had led me to my own expansion, I just fell in love with the work. And so much of it dovetailed the use of, breath and sound and movement. All of those are acting tools as well. Energy, mindfulness, spatial awareness, all of those things, all of the tools that we use in this beautiful coaching, it all kind of dovetailed, ritual, like all of it. And so here I find myself, 4 years later with, doing my own work, aging with Eros, really wanting to serve women that are of an age, a mature age, that are told, hey, it's time for you to sort of quietly disappear. It's bingo on Friday nights. It's, join that book club. Hey, and nothing wrong with bingo and book clubs, right? I love a good book club. Hey, I love bingo. And there's so much more. So yeah, that's kind of a very long answer to your question.
I love it. Well, it's interesting because that's one of the things that I hear so often from middle-aged women or, people that are conditioned as women in this culture, that there is a period where you can feel this like marked change where you feel like you're no longer noticed. Yeah. And I'm curious if you would speak to that a little bit.
And it's so true. And I distinctly remember sort of that when that time came and you would walk into a room and no one would notice. And you just think, wow, wait a second. When did that happen? When did I go from being somebody that could walk into a room and be noticed and hey, to somebody that it was as if I wasn't there? And I remember it very distinctly and thinking to myself, what is wrong with this picture? And also realizing that I could continue to let that happen, or I could decide to turn that on its head. I started to examine why I let it happen. That internal messaging, that societal messaging that all of us have received as feminine beings, as women, that you are not enough, all of the not enoughness that we tend to grow up with, all of that, be a good girl, be seen, not heard, and then you're not even seen. And so it was one of those things where I just thought, no, enough of this. Like F this, really. Yes. I call BS on this, but it's up to me to actually change that. It's up to me to say, hey, hi, how's it going? My name is, what do you do? This is what I do. What are you about? This is what I'm about. Yes. And really starting to flip that narrative consciously. Yeah.
And I love how one of the things that you just said really stood out to me was that, you're like, what's wrong with this picture? And realizing it's not you, right? It's not you. It's the condition. It's like just the other reasons. And I'm curious now if you notice, because I think, obviously you're always such a striking and magnetic presence. But now that you've really activated this Eros more inside of you, do you feel like you're more, like you feel that more able to like command the room, even no matter what, right?
You know what? I don't know if I feel like I can command the room more, but I certainly have. I walk into any room with way more confidence. And it's just a confidence in knowing who I am. Knowing what I bring to the party, knowing that my life experience is valid and deeply interesting. And so, and it's so funny you asked that because I went to a couple of parties. It's, that time of year around here, there was a couple of Christmas parties and a birthday party. And I had 2 compliments from women that I hadn't seen in months. One woman came up, we were chatting, she said, "You look powerful."
Yes.
I feel as compliment. I have never had that before. Normally it's like, oh, look amazing. I love what you've done with your hair, blah, blah, blah. But it was, you look powerful. And I thought, thank you. I feel powerful. And the other woman said to me, she came up to me later and she said, you look like a wizard. And I said, a wizard? And she said, what I really wanted to say was, you look like a witch, but I didn't want to offend you. And I said, are you kidding me? That is the biggest compliment you could possibly give me. I look like a witch. So yeah, the internal work that I've done in combination with the sort of outer work that you have to do as well, I think is creating sort of an energetic frequency around me and within me, certainly, that allows me to just take up my space, take up my rightful space, in a way that is super grounded and, very much in alignment with how I want to be perceived and how I want all women to sort of be able to walk into a room with the confidence that they belong there.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because I think a lot of times, culturally we hear these stories, and also just because going through transitioning through menopause and all of that is really, it's an initiation, and it really takes you to the depth of your soul. And I think if you're not aware, if you don't really step into the spiritual aspects of it and everything around it, it can leave you on the other side like, well, I'm just going to go tuck myself in a place and being right. I'm curious your thoughts around that.
Totally. Total. I mean, menopause is an initiation, and it's a massive transition that only now, with this critical mass of women and feminine bodied beings stepping into menopause, it's really coming to the fore because more resources, personal resources, maybe not within the medical establishment, but personal resources are being used to make more women aware of what is happening in your body, in your psyche, what is going on as you transition into a time when the estrogen starts to really leave your body. And when I went through menopause, it was, well, a number of years ago. I'm almost 62 now, and it started in my late 40s. And I wasn't even living in Canada, which is my home country. I was living elsewhere and overseas. And, I remember being drenched in sweat and brain fog hitting and just not knowing what on earth was happening to me, truly. And I didn't go through with hormone replacement therapy. It was undoubtedly was available, but it wasn't something that I chose for myself. But menopause really does play a number on us. And it is so easy to feel betrayed by our bodies instead of viewing it as a natural process, because we haven't been taught that this is a natural process, that this is what the body does. And how can we honor it? First of all, how can we honor it with so much dignity and sort of, again, flip the narrative on that whole idea of our bodies are betraying us, so that we have just a more heart-centered approach to what is going on for us, which then, chemically, it just literally does change our physiology and the neurochemistry. But so, yeah, it's something that I think is so worthy of exploring and so worthy of addressing, and, looking to other cultures that view menopause and then postmenopause as the second spring, as that opportunity to rebirth oneself. I mean, it truly is. It's a portal into rebirth. It's a portal into rebirth. And I mean, birth is hard. I am not a mother, but I know you are a mother. Birthing a being is hard. Birthing yourself is also hard, and comes with great potential and possibility and renewal and life force, and that is sort of really where I've started to focus my energy in this postmenopausal phase of my life, to really focus my energy into getting really curious about my world again, getting really curious about where I fit into this world, how I can serve in this world in a way that has meaning for me and for others. I got one trimester left, Amanda. I'm lucky if I have another 30 years, right? I'm really lucky if I have another 30 years. So what do I want to do with that? Right? Am I going to let menopause and postmenopause stop me? But systemic patriarchy has said that it should? No, absolutely not. I'm going to buck that system and create my own rules for living, and reinvent how I show up.
Yes. And I think that is so huge. I just celebrate you because you are like the living embodiment of it. And I'm curious as well, because I know when it comes to aging with Eros, if you would share a little bit more about what that means to you.
Thank you. Aging with Eros, what that means, well, it means a whole bunch of things, to be very honest with you. Eros it's not just about the sexual connection and romance and that sort of passion. It can be. And I believe very, very strongly in celebrating what our body's pleasure capacity is. My pleasure capacity at this age is so much larger than it ever was when I was in my 30s and 40s. It truly is. So, it's very exciting that this is a possibility. So I believe strongly in really getting curious about your erotic potential as a vulva-bodied being. I believe very, very strongly in that. And it's just really good for you. It's good for your mental health, physical health. Like it's a really powerful way of showing up for yourself. And you don't have to be in partnership. You can do it. You can have self-pleasure practices. There's so much available to you with tools, your hands. I mean, fabulous tools, along with the variety of beautiful sex toys that are available to us at this stage of the game. So Eros means definitely sexual pleasure. And it's life force. It's how do you engage with your world? How do you engage with Mother Nature? How do you engage in your community? It's really getting curious again as to what is out there for you. There's no, best before date on exploring our ever evolving life and world. There's no best before date. There's no expiry date.
Yes.
I mean, until we
Unless you decided this.
Yes, until we expire and leave this earthly realm.
Yeah.
Expiry date, right? Until then, live the life.
Yeah.
So Eros is, in my opinion, living, like truly living. And some days living means doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it's the pleasure of curling up with a cup of tea and allowing yourself to just, relax and do nothing. It doesn't have to mean go at all. It's a real honor of the rhythms that an aging body, that a mature body starts to become aware of. My rhythms are way different now than they were even 10 years ago, and to really honor that, again, I think is aging with Eros, aging with life force, aging in a way that, just dignifies your human experience.
Really honoring the cycles of that. One of the things that you just mentioned that I want to go back to for a minute, because I think this is really important, is oftentimes, we hear out there around how after a certain point that you're going to start losing your ability to orgasm. You're going to start, sex is going to be no fun anymore. And I love how, really shaking that on its head, because tell me more about some of the ways you feel like you have expanded your capacity for pleasure and how that, how that's changed just with regards to your sexual experience.
Yeah.
Or maybe just ability to feel more pleasure, like you were saying.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like such a big question. I thought, okay, I have to just like take a second here. And
of course, yes.
Yeah. One of the ways that I really started to experience more pleasure in my body before the pandemic, I was diagnosed with fibromyalgia, which is an autoimmune disease, causes a lot of pain. Nobody really understands it fully. And so I was sort of going through a tough period when that pandemic hit. And then when I started using the tools, the somatic tools, the embodiment tools that we were taught through Vita, these tools like breath work, like meditation, like breathing into your heart and allowing that energy, visualizing that energy moving through your body. Those very simple tools, while they sound kind of woo-woo, aren't. They're actually based in neuroscience, and it makes a difference. And so how my pleasure journey started was allowing my body, because I couldn't go anywhere because of the pandemic, my body started to unwind. It started to de-stress. And in combination with doing these beautiful tools, these meditations, and you know what, I will say, although many folks experience extreme isolation, which is so hard because this year-long program created a community, an online community, I never felt isolated. And so there was so much healing that came for me in community, in like-minded community, in combination with the tools, in getting curious about what my body can do. And, I mean, whether it was just using the touch of my fingers on various parts of my body, doing breast massage, doing vulva massage, having pleasure practices, and having the luxury truly of having the time to do that and allowing myself to go slow and trying, with all my heart to have the deepest compassion for myself when I thought I wasn't, where I should be, really removing that element. It just sort of slowly built on itself. And so those neuronal pathways to pleasure started to build and build and build. And so by, a few months in, I was experiencing body orgasms that I had never experienced before.
Hey, it's Amanda. If you are enjoying the show and felt a connection to what we've discussed, and you're ready to take the next step in reigniting your passion and enhancing your relationships, I have something special for you. Visit www.amandatesta.com/thegoods, where you can subscribe to my email. And if you want, you can sign up for a free personalized sensuality discovery session with me. In this one-on-one heart-to-heart session, we'll explore your unique desires, uncover any challenges, and set a path for you to experience the vibrant, fulfilling love life you deserve. Don't let another day pass feeling unfulfilled or disconnection. Take action now, and let's start this beautiful journey together to fire up your feminine fire. Join me at amandatesta.com/thegoods. I'm excited to stay connected. Now back to the show.
I literally had one of those awakening moments where my body became part of the universe, and I just thought, oh, that's what he's talking about. All those people that are talking about, the awakening and, like we are one with the universe. I thought, oh, right. We are. I'm not separate. And as soon as I sort of that paradigm shift, which is massive, I belong here. I am literally of the universe, and the universe is in me and of me. When you kind of get that on a somatic level, on an embodiment level, mixed with a heart level and a brain level, that's when pleasure became way more accessible, just in everything you do. And it's a practice.
Yes.
I would have a pleasure practice. I would practice eating with mindfulness and really savoring taste and texture and all of those things that we talk about. And when you actually practice it, and it is a practice because, we're human beings and monkey minds. And even if I'm living alone, I'd still I have to do the laundry and I should really vacuum now.
Yes.
Always is there. And when you introduce those small, doable steps and make it a practice, that's when my life really changed.
I think that's so huge because one of the things, anybody listening to the podcast knows I'm always preaching about the little micro doses of pleasure because they really do make such a difference. And I love how you share, too, when you were able to allow yourself to just meet yourself with curiosity and compassion and learn some new tricks and really practice those and play with them and allow yourself to just be with whatever was there. You were able to find these new ways to experience pleasure so deeply, and connecting to that oneness, I think, is such a beautiful part of this work because it gives you that such a deep sense of belonging, not only to yourself, but also to the collective. That's one of the things I love about this work too, is it does change people and how they show up in the world. And I love that. That's like a little secret nugget that I think is so amazing about it, because you can't not be connected. And once you really turn on in that way, you're more just aware of everything and how you can not just it's not selfish pursuits, yes, everything, but you want to do things not only for you, but also for the collective, right? It's a little bit of shift in how we show up, I think.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. before we started this interview, I said I wanted to light a candle. And you said, I do too. And so, and as I was lighting my candle, I dedicated this to the greater good. That whoever is listening and may get something out of this, that's why I'm here. I dedicated it to my mother, I have a photo of my mother and my Nana and my other grandmother and many women that have meant the world to me. I do it for them because they didn't have the resources, the education, the society to support them. I do it for them. So yes, it is for the collective, the past, and then into the future. I think that's so important. And I think that role modeling, that as we age, I know you're in your early 50s. Is that right, Amanda? Right.
Yeah.
And you have a daughter, and I don't, but it's so necessary for us to embrace our aging, to embrace our bodies, to understand our bodies, so that we can be the role models, so that we can look, we're battling against what I think it's a $9 billion industry now, the quote unquote beauty industry that really tells us day in and day out, we are just not pretty enough, not thin enough, not useful enough. We're just not good enough.
Makes me crazy. I mean, I tell you, because I'm at that age now where it's like, I desire to just gracefully age. And every time I get on social media or whatever, there's like a million ads. Because I feel like you're saying, like, there's the double-edged sword of this menopause marketing that's out there now. It's like, oh, you need to be ripped and have your protein and creatine and collagen and la, la, la. I'm like, oh my God, can we just get to the, I'm just trying to get through the day. And also how much money goes into that. Like, I'm all for being healthy, and whatever it is that makes you feel good and that helps you, please do that. But just, I also think realizing like that is not all, like, it's not trying to race to try to be the youngest forever, I think, right? It's like you want to be healthy and feel good and enjoy pleasure and be in your body and enjoy. I don't know. I'm curious your thoughts on that, because you're just sharing like,
no, I
this $9 billion industry we're against here.
Yeah, $9 billion. This is just it. I agree with you completely. And yes, everybody wants to look their best, feel their best, be their best, and feel as healthy as possible. I think that's magnificent. I think you deserve that. I think we all deserve that. And I think how it's been positioned to us is deeply, deeply flawed and deeply misogynistic and deeply mired in very outdated ways of what our place is as women in society. So yes, do what you want to do to make yourself feel good. I am all for that. For me, I do not subscribe to injectables and fillables and I don't. I just think for me, it's a use of my resources, my financial resources. I would much rather give to a charitable organization that supports girls' education, right? That's where I would rather see my thousands of dollars going. That's my personal bent. And I also just don't believe that we've ever felt that our looks are enough. I know there's beautiful, even younger women that never think they're beautiful enough. And so, they still don't feel truly like they've arrived. And it's because the inner work, that secure self-attachment, that beautiful self of inner safety, of self-trust, of all of those things, that actually is not going to be created by an external look, and I mean, again, that's neuroscience. I was just listening to a beautiful, you've probably heard of this man, his name is Dr. James Doty. He's a surgeon neuroscience.
Oh, yes. I love his work.
Yes, his work is stunning. And, do we approach life with a fear base, or do we approach it with the heart? And as soon as we go in, if we're in the fear, it's like, I'm not good enough. People are judging me. Everything depends on, do I have more belly fat now than I had before? Oh my gosh, I can't go to that party, et cetera, et cetera. And that fear base as to how are we going to be perceived, or just not feeling that we have enough worth to simply be who we are, it really impacts how we show up for ourselves. Whereas when we start to center in our hearts, truly in our hearts, that magnetic field 3 to 5 feet outside of us is the heart. Like, that's how powerful heart thinking is, and this work that you do, that I do, I feel is truly based in creating that kind of inner environment so that the outer environment reflects the inner environment. So, I don't know if that answered your question.
It does. And I think, yeah, it does answer my question.
Health and community and connection. And I love wrinkles. I felt like, yes, I put on makeup today because I knew
because it's also okay to adorn yourself. I think that's what we all, right? It's like, but doing it from a place of where you're doing it to enhance what's already there versus trying to change something, I think that's that internal shift that you get.
Yeah.
And I also, something I notice about you too, and all the women that I know that do this work, it's like Shakti is the most amazing, youthful elixir there is, because it's that life force you're talking about. It's that aliveness. And when you are fully filled with that, you have that magnetic aliveness, no matter if you're wrinkled, whatever, right? You feel, there's just something about it that makes you feel good, right?
Yeah. Yes. And, quite honestly, I call them lifelines, wrinkles, whatever you want to call them, the scars of life, how life embeds in you. Literally, it is embedded in you. We want to erase that.
That is beautiful. I love that.
I want people to think that you haven't lived, right? Like that you are, like that your face at 60 is as smooth as a baby's bottom. I honestly, truly do not understand it. I don't find it attractive. I love seeing lived in faces. I want to know about that life. Some of the most beautiful faces to me are the ones that are the most wizened with life and age spots and just, the crinkles. It's like, to me, it's delicious, and my body relaxes in the presence of those people. My body literally tenses up when I see folks that have really embraced body makeovers with the injectables and with the Botox and all of that, with the plastic surgery, with the needling, with all of that. I literally have an internal physical reaction where I don't feel quite grounded when I'm navigating that phase. And I truly just believe, because it's not the sort of natural way. And this is not a judgment. As I say, this is not the natural way we age. It's not a judgment call, but it isn't. Like, I age naturally, and that's a life path that I've chosen. I feel, for me, that has the most grace in it, that has the most honor in it, and that is dignifying my body, that is dignifying my life, is not to manipulate it in a way that subscribes to the cultural conditioning that I look better because I am younger.
It's a brave act. Celebrating. That's a brave act, because it is. I don't. I mean, again, if anyone's listening, this is not a judgment. It's just, there's different ways to approach it, and I think it's not our fault. It's the culture's fault, right? And I do blame the media. I blame the media, and it really manipulated people's views of reality. And you can also tell, like, in certain environments, when that's all you're around, there's like dysmorphia kind of thing that happens, and then you can't really discern what is real. It's very challenging. So it's a choice to make. But I think that the more you do this work about pleasure and embracing your Eros in yourself, the less you feel the need to resort to external things to like make you feel beautiful on the inside. I think that is really key.
Yeah. No, I do too. I do too, and again, I think that's why it is so important that as we age, we do embrace it in a way that serves the younger generations. I feel very fortunate that I didn't grow up with social media, that I didn't grow up with the internet. I've had enough body shame just from reading teen magazines and, seeing what the beautiful
Yes.
gals
Yes.
were, I had enough body shame and body hate from that. And now with social media, with like even just the filters that you can put on your Instagram and your TikToks and all of that filtering, because we've decided that our filtered selves are better than our actual selves. What is like that?
Yeah.
You know?
It is. I know we could go down this road because both are very passionate about this.
Yeah.
But I also want to, I think this is probably some of these premises that you really share about when it comes to aging with Eros. And I'm wondering too, for those listening that are like, okay, well, I want to change things and how I'm doing this. So maybe what would be some tips or some wisdom around that? What would be some ways to do things differently? How can you, what tips do you have around that?
Oh, well, like I said, and yeah, exactly. How do you do it? It's easy to talk about it, and it's easy to say it's just mindset. And it's a combination of first of all, examining the messages that you may have grown up with, and just examine how those might live in you. And when I say how they might live in you, even if you just do an exercise like, I don't know, what? Well, I'll tell you when I was, I don't know, I was a young teenager, a beautiful young girl, and my mother told me my knees were fat. Okay, my knees were fat, so we're not fat, but it was one of those things, and I loved my mother. My mother was amazing, but she had grown up also like thinner is better. Da 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 da. So an exercise as to examining that messaging, just, remembering that my knees are fat and just noticing, how that hits you in your body, and just noticing how that stuff lives in you, literally lives in you, in your nervous system, and, how your body contracts and how you then want to stay small, perhaps. And so examining those messages and then starting to really gently and lovingly deconstruct those messages to really examine, is this even true? And how do I want to live? And that again, I mean, no one is going to do this for us, Amanda. We have to decide that we want to live differently. We have to really make that choice. We have to be resilient. We have to, I did a lot of inner work with, creating inner safety, creating self-love, building more secure self-attachment. And hey, this is a work in progress. I'm going to be 62 in January. I am still very much a work in progress. I still very much bump into myself, into my judgments of myself, judgments of others, what I think I can do, what I think I cannot do, all the time. The who do you think you are, Missy? Right? I bump into that. And then I have to decide, what am I going to do with that? Am I going to shut down because of it, or am I going to look at that and do it anyway? So you have to have that kind of resilience and grit to sort of walk through any discomfort to see what's on the other side. What I've discovered as I've done the inner work, that's when I can start to do the outer work. That's when I can really start to show up, not only for myself, but at a party and talking about the work I do. That's when I can create my coaching program, Aging with Eros, when I start to face my own fears and just do it anyways. And that's what I want for everybody, is to just, and you don't have to start a coaching program. I would just love for all of these I see these beautiful, beautiful, dynamic, wise, life experience women who honestly are surprised at the idea that they have power, that they have wisdom. And I think, how can you not know how beautiful you are, how incredible you are? Well, magnificent. Look, you've been on this planet a number of decades. The very fact that you've made it this far is a massive testament to who you are, you know? And so that's what I want for every woman, is to really feel like they can walk into any room and everybody's going to be like,
Yes.
I'm going to work with that person.
Yes.
They look fabulous.
I love it. It's so true.
Yeah. Right. And so it is. It's doing some research on Google for some breathwork techniques, if that interests you. I'd be careful though, as to, please follow. And also because there's so much amazing work now going on in the menopause community, there are some fabulous people that you can start to follow on Instagram, on Facebook, podcasts. Like there's this beautiful podcast. There's so many amazing podcasts now filled with information as to, how to really understand what's going on in your body, as well as then if you want to live a life that is your true potential, that secret desire that you've never told anybody. We all have it. We all have but I really wanted to be a writer. I really wanted to be a dominatrix. I really wanted to be, whatever it was. Start to follow that voice. Really let that voice come out. Because I know we're running out of time, but I just listened to a little interview, Jamie Lee Curtis, who I adore.
Oh my gosh, I was just thinking about that.
Right? Great example. At 60, she woke up and just went, if not now, when? If not me, who? Yes. In a nutshell. Right? So that's it. So you decide. And it's like that Goethe quote, like until one is committed, there's always hesitancies. There's always the chance to draw back. But when one makes that decision to commit to yourself, let's say, that's when doors open. That's when the universe meets you with the yes. Because you're working from the heart energy. You're working from that magnetic field. And it's, again, it's neuroscience, right? That magnetic field, 3 to 5 feet out, that makes you feel good is going to make other people feel good. And, that creates more same, right? So yeah, I think that's, boldness, be bold. Yeah. Be brave. Do the thing. If not now.
I love it. Thank you so much. I'd love if you would share too, where everyone can connect with you and learn more about Aging with Eros and all the amazing work that you do.
Oh, thanks. Yes, I have a website called pleasurewarrior.com, and that is my website. You can go there and there's an email address that you can contact me at. You can find me on Facebook. My name is Linda Prystawska. That's my name on Facebook. And on Instagram, I'm at Aging with Eros. So yeah, please hit me up at any of those places. Even if you're curious about this work, or, if you just want to chat about where you're at, how you're doing, and, what life is like as you're going through menopause and post-menopause, please DM me. I would love to just chat with you.
Yes.
It's so fun meeting people and creating that community.
Mm-hmm. And Linda is amazing. She does embody that power. And I love that people are just reflecting that back to you more and more. I'm wondering too, if there was maybe any question that you wished I would have asked that I didn't ask, or any last thoughts you'd like to leave with the listeners.
You know what? I just want everybody to know that at 60, I feel like I am in the perfect position to create the life I want. And so at whatever age, fill in your own age, you are in the perfect position to create the life you want. So really at the end of the day, that's the message that I want to leave everybody with. I believe it strongly. I am living proof of that. And gosh, if I can do it, anybody can do it. And so, just really, that would be it, Amanda.
Thank you so much again for being here, Linda. And I just love you. And thank you so much to all who are listening today. And I'll make sure as well to put in the show notes where you can connect with Linda and Aging with Eros. And we will see you next week. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you for listening to the Find Your Feminine Fire podcast. If you loved this episode, please go ahead and forward it right now to someone you know would love it. And if you've not had a chance yet to leave us a rave review on Apple Podcasts, please make sure to rate and review if you enjoyed it, as well as make sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Want to stay connected? Make sure to go to amandatesta.com/thegoods to download your free sensuality activation and stay connected. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.